What watch has the most hands? Do any watches have 13 hands? I decided to embark on a challenge to see how many different numbers of hands in a watch I could uncover. Are you ready to witness the odd and fascinating in this wrist-worn journey from no hands to a record-setting number of hands? The challenge begins now on this episode of Adventures with Time. We'll start with a small number of hands and then increase by one each time. During this quest, we'll confront philosophical questions and uncover astonishing complex designs that test the limits of horological engineering. How far do you think I'll get without skipping a number? Stop this video now and enter your guess in the comments. The rules of this challenge are simple. Any watch considered must be mechanical and show time in analog format. That's it, and the challenge begins now. I could start with a one-handed watch. I'm going to start with 0 hands. There are several examples of watches that don't have what some would call hands. For example, there are talking watches,
10:40 a.m.
and braille watches. These all display time in a digital format, which violates the rules on my channel. However, there are watches that show time in analog, which can be considered to be hands-free. There are tactile watches like the Magneto, which use little balls that move around an analog watch style so as to allow someone who is sight impaired to tell time through touch. There are watches that use rotating discs to indicate time. I made a video about one such watch, the Sega-designed Blue World. There are even hydromechanical watches which use colored liquid in small capillaries to indicate time on an hour scale. I included this HYT skull watch in my video about scary watches. This is where a debate on terminology can arise. You can always skip this discussion or any part of the video by using the chapter time bar below. For those of you still here, what do you consider a watch hand? Should unconventional time indicating mechanisms in watches be considered hands? Are devices such as rotating discs, liquid display, or even moving scales be considered hands? Traditionally, watch hands are rooted in the history of mechanical watchmaking, representing some pointer that moves along a scale. Should we adopt a function over form mentality, which in horology would describe anything that is used to indicate time on a scale as a watch hand? Do we dilute the term hand to cover these other types of indicators? Which side do you take? I'm a traditionalist, or perhaps a purist, who would prefer to maintain a historical definition of a hand, leaving these other types of indicators as distinct and separate innovations. Adding this view to our rules, let's continue. Entering the realm of watches with hands, we have the not-so-common one-handed watch. Meistersinger is a German watchmaker that specializes in these. In fact, their tagline is the single-hand watch. I guess one could get used to reading time on these watches, but why would we want to? Another candidate for a one-handed watch is the Vario Nautical Popeye watch. This is a one-handed watch, provided we adhere to the traditional view of watch hands discussed before. This watch literally uses Popeye's hand to display minutes, while jumping disc window displays the hour. There is a spinning spinach can, which effectively displays seconds. However, there is no scale with increments. Increasing the number of hands brings us to the most common time-telling designs, 2- and 3-handed watches. For the most part, these are time-only watches, hours and minutes, or hours, minutes, and seconds. Although the focus of this video is to find at least one watch with each specific number of hands, as we go through this journey, I'll identify interesting alternate hand configurations. Although I could not find a 2-handed watch with anything other than an hour and minute hand, there are 3-handed watches that have uses other than hours, minutes, and running seconds. The Omega Chronostop does not have a running seconds hand. Instead, there is a central chronograph second hand. The Parmigiani Tundra PFGMT Rattrapant does not have a running seconds hand. Rather, it has 2-hour hands to track 2 time zones, an interesting twist on the GMT Complication. Please add your finds of alternate hand configurations. Four-handed watches is where we normally start seeing complications. That is, functions that go beyond basic time telling. This includes a GMT watch, where a fourth hand is used in conjunction with a 24-hour scale to indicate time in a second time zone. Another use for a fourth hand is a date function, where the date is indicated by a hand pointing to a 31-day scale. A less common use of a fourth hand is for a power reserve indicator, whether it be a linear scale or one that shows actual hours or days of power reserve. A fourth hand configuration that I don't like is one where there are chronograph second and minute hands, but no running seconds. Without a running seconds, there is normally no noticeable movement on the dial. The watch looks lifeless. We'll see this again later. Five hands on a watch may be warranted by a single complication or the combination of two complications. Here is another watch with a chronograph without a running seconds hand. In this case, the chronograph records elapsed seconds, minutes, and hours. Alternatively, here is a watch with a 10-minute countdown timer with minute and second hands and the traditional hour, minute, and running seconds hands telling the time. Adding a pointing date feature with a power reserve, we get this five-handed watch. However, here the power reserve indicator is on the watch back. Do you prefer that? Adding another hand, we get watches with full function features. By that I mean a chronograph that provides elapsed seconds, minutes, and hours, along with the running seconds, minutes, and hours. Likewise, a six-handed watch with a perpetual calendar that indicates day, date, and month. There are variants to this configuration that replace the second hand with a leap year indicator, or a moon phase hand. Of course, you can go even further with a seven-handed watch, adding a power reserve indicator to the perpetual calendar. I could not find an eight-handed watch. I'm sure there must be one out there. Can you find it? Now we get into the arena of watches termed grand complications. These are watches that include multiple complex watch functions. They require high levels of technical engineering and expert craftsmanship. There is no specific measure at which point a watch achieves grand complication status. However, those that require 9 or more hands are often ascribed this moniker. An interesting complication that is primarily seen in grand complication watches is equation of time. I had not heard about this complication until I did research for this video. It is the difference between what a clock would determine as midday, the mean time, and the solar midday. The reason these differ is that the Earth revolves on an inclined axis, and the speed of rotation around the Sun varies because of the elliptical path. Mean time and solar time only coincide 4 times a year on equinoxes and solstices. An equation of time complication displays how many minutes have to be added or deducted from mean time to get to the actual solar time. This disparity fluctuates between minus 16 minutes and 45 seconds and plus 14 minutes and 21 seconds. By the way, how many watch terms like equation of time do you know? Why not challenge yourself with the Watch Lover's Puzzle Book? It will provide you with hours of fun while you learn over 400 watch terms through more than 80 puzzles. I'll leave a link to this Amazon book in the description. Getting back to our watch hand journey and moving on to 11-handed watches, we start seeing some of the atypical complications. The Audemars Piguet Royal Oak Offshore Grand Complication has 11 hands. In 2005, Vacheron Constantin produced this 12-handed watch in celebration of their 250th anniversary. Here we see sunrise and sunset indicators. Moving higher in the count of watch hands, the more expensive watches become and rarer due to limited production. In 2014, Patek Philippe launched the Grandmaster Chime for their 175th anniversary. It has 20 complications and a total of 15 hands, 6 on the front and 9 on the back. Frank Muller created the Eternitas Mega 4 in 2018 with 38 complications and 18 hands. Another anniversary watch was produced in 1989 by Patek Philippe for their 150th anniversary. The Caliber 89 massive pocket watch has 33 complications and 20 hands across both watch faces. But wait, there's more! The current record holder for the most complicated watch is the Vacheron Constantin reference 57260. This massive watch comes in with 57 complications and 31 hands. Produced in 2015, it displays several features related to the Gregorian, Judaic, and lunar calendars. One of these is the golden number, a period of exactly 19 years after which the lunar phases recur at the same time of the year. Other features being the Yom Kippur date and a 12 or 13-month indicator, which shows whether the current year includes a leap month, which is added during the 19-year cycle, called the intercalary month. Let me know if you'd like a dedicated video on some of these more special and less common features. For now, I suggest you consider watches in a more normal range of complications by taking a look at this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.